Pastor Bryce here, and welcome back to 5 Minutes for the Family. And it's been 3 weeks since we last published on 5 Minutes for the Family. And when we did, we wished you a Merry Christmas, as well as informed you that when we got back on January 11th, that we would be letting you know about a ministry opportunity that you could be involved in. And Mary Ellen Kordik is here with us today, and she's going to be letting us know about a discipleship as well as evangelism tool that your teens can take advantage of.
Hi, our family has been involved with Child Evangelism Fellowship, known as CEF, since the year 2000, when our older children were summer missionaries with this ministry. More recently, one of the roles that I have is being a team leader with the summer missionaries and part of their training. I am passionate about working with these teens because they're passionate about taking Christ to children. I love seeing these teens be impacted and their lives changed and their faith growing because of what they're doing and the opportunities that they have in this ministry. I wish every young person would have this opportunity because I've seen it so transform lives. On Wednesday night, your teens had the opportunity to hear about CEF and the training that goes with it, and learn some things about that. So I'm here today to tell you some of what they learned and answer some of the things I think as parents you'd like to know. It's amazing today how many children grow up with no knowledge of the Bible. They've never heard of Noah, they don't know about Daniel and the lion's den, and they certainly have never heard that God has a plan for their lives. Instead, they know poverty, abuse, and unthinkable experiences that they have at tender ages. Most people put their faith in Christ between the ages of 4 and 14, and those are the people that we're trying to reach with the gospel through CEF. We take the gospel through after-school Bible clubs called Good News Clubs and summer 5-day clubs. We share Bible lessons, missionary stories, songs, Bible verses. It's a really fun time for the kids, and they get to hear a clear explanation of what Christ did on the cross for them and what that means for their lives, and they have the opportunity to put their trust in Christ. The summer missionaries are taught how to clearly teach the gospel accurately and precisely, and given all the tools that they need to do that. It's a really incredible opportunity for them. And many children come to Christ through this ministry. It's so important that our young people make the faith their own. As you know, they can't go along on our coattails. They have to know Christ themselves and have that personal relationship with the Lord. And through the ministry of CEF, I've seen so many of them just completely changed in their faith. They go out and they're teaching and they have impossible situations and they cry out to God and He answers their prayers. And suddenly the faith becomes their faith in a new and different way, and it really impacts them for life. I've talked to many young people who did this as teens. They're in their 20s and 30s now. They may or may not be in full-time ministry. Many of them are not, but they tell me they use the things they learned during CEF all the time. They use it at work, they use it in life, and certainly they use it in their churches where they're serving as leaders. So what is a summer missionary? It's someone 13 and up who's committed to taking the gospel to children through the ministry of Child Evangelism Fellowship. There's a training, it's called Christian Youth in Action, or CYIA. And it takes place for 2 weeks, the end of June, at a camp in the middle of our state. The cost for the training is $630, which covers their board, their meals, their materials, and all their expenses. And that is not something you need to feel like, oh my word, we can't write a check for that, because they raise support just like any other missionary, and they get help putting prayer letters out that you can send to your family and friends. But the biggest thing is prayer, because God provides. When He calls us to a ministry, He equips us and provides what we need to do that ministry, and we always see God provide. While they are up at camp, they're mostly going to have classes. There's a lot of training involved, and it's intense. It really is, but it's also wonderfully fun. They have some great experiences. They eat good food. They make friends. They make the iron sharpens iron kind of friends, because all these young people have the same passion and purpose of taking Christ to others, and they form friendships that really enable them to navigate through the high school years in a wonderful way. The training runs June 9th through the 21st, and after that training, from then until the 3rd week of August, are the clubs. And 5-day clubs are 90 minutes long, And as I mentioned earlier, they involve Bible lessons, missionary stories, Bible verses, songs, snacks, a lot of time to interact with the children. Typically, a summer missionary will teach 3 clubs a day, but there are exceptions to that. The minimum requirement is teaching 2 weeks, but our summer coordinator recognizes that different families sometimes have unique needs, and so sometimes a young person will only teach 2 clubs a day. Or every now and then we have someone who teaches 1 club a day, but every week of the summer. I would just encourage that your young people serve as many weeks as they can, because the more they teach the clubs, the more impact they're going to have. The more God is going to impact their lives. We always had our young people teach all summer long, and it was really an incredible thing for them to do that. And by the end of the summer, they're depending on God in a new and different way, and all of that strengthens their faith. The training through CYIA really equips our young people to be leaders. As they come back year after year, they're taught new skills and new ways of presenting the gospel, new tools for that, and they're also taught leadership skills. We're training future leaders, and these young people become leaders in our churches and in life. Every week, they come for a weekly meeting, and I get the privilege of hearing testimonies of what God has been doing. This past summer, there are a few that really stand out to me, although there were so many. There was a young girl who was teaching a club, and it poured rain. So they gathered under a big tree. She had 9 children gathered in that tree. She couldn't teach club the way she normally does, but she had a wordless book, which is one of the tools that we can use to share the gospel. And those 9 children sat under the tree that somehow God used to keep all the rain off of them, even though it was pouring. And she clearly told the gospel message. And at the end of that time, almost every one of those children prayed to receive Christ. It was amazing. There was another summer missionary who told me she really had to trust God last year. She taught a lot of inner city clubs, and she was stretched, but she saw God do amazing things, and she was able to lead several children to Christ. Another one said she specifically prayed and asked that she would grow, and she would grow in her faith. And boy, did she. She was stretched in unbelievable ways, but she had some really, really incredible opportunities to share Christ, and she also led another number of children to Christ last year. And then there was the first year who shared that 2 years ago, she told God she didn't think this was for her, but God had other plans. And she told me after this summer, it was the best training she'd ever had. She said, my training was so good, I could teach a bunch of adults. And then she said, this was the most amazing summer. It's the most growth I've ever had. I realized how much I've been wasting my time all these years. This is just some of the ways that our young people are impacted by doing summer ministry. Last summer, we had 68 professions of faith during the summer ministry. Would you pray about sending your young person to do CYIA this year? Sometimes we have to tell our children that they need to go because we sense a calling on their lives. This happened with one of ours. Pastor Bryce is emailing you some information. I think it's with the email that has this video, and there's also the same information in your communication folders. And in there is a letter from me, and I share Micah's testimony of how we made him go, but we never had to make him go after the first year. And he tells how doing summer ministry has really impacted his life. Coming up, there are some things, and all of this information is attached to this email and in your communication folder, but there's a winter retreat February 1st through 3rd that your young people can attend, and it would give them an opportunity to meet summer missionaries from around the state and to learn more about what exactly are they going to be doing, and they'll also be having some wintertime fun. That's February 1st through 3rd. Those who are interested in doing this, there's an online application. That information is in the written material also. The deadline for that is March 31st, but please plan to fill it out sooner. You need to have a lot of information in it, your health insurance, some references, and so it takes a while to fill it out. So you don't want to wait until March 31st to actually do that. In April, there'll be an orientation. That's an opportunity for the summer missionaries to meet the other local summer missionaries and begin their training process. And on that day, there's also time for the parents, where there'll be some training for you, what to expect, and how you can best support and encourage your summer missionary. And then the training itself, as I said before, is June 9th through 21st. And it is a life-changing training. It really is. I really want to encourage you to pray about the young people in this church, your young people in particular, but also the other young people that God is calling to do this ministry. I really believe that if we have a number of teens from Brookside, it will impact our church, it will impact the missions trip, and it will impact our youth as a whole. God is doing big things in Southeast Wisconsin right now, and I would be excited to have any of your teens joining us as we do this work. Thank you so much, and I will be praying with you. Bye-bye.
And I hope that learning about that opportunity is something that is helpful for you and opens your eyes to an opportunity that you could take an advantage of. And the handouts that she referenced are in the description below, as well as in the email that was sent out to you. And so you can take a look at those things and contact either Mary Ellen or CEF themselves if you would like to take advantage of anything you've heard about today. And once again, as we reach the end here, thank you for joining us here at 5 Minutes for the Family, and we'll see you next week.